Welcome to day 2 of TI3, the group stages. This is going to be the third series of Cast of Fnatic, and they've looked so good, but they have not faced an Eastern team before. It's Fnatic versus LGD, and this is going to be a good match. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen Fnatic play against a Chinese team. They did not qualify into the G1 League, and they were not invited for the Alienware Cup. So the two major tournaments in the last 6 months that saw a crossover between the West and the East, Fnatic were not involved in. I don't know if they've been scrimming. One of the unfortunate things about the geography of the world is that it's hard for Western and Eastern teams to scrim against each other, which is part of why they have differences in their styles and picking and strategy. I'm sure if they were scrimming against each other more often, they would probably homogenize a little bit. But because there's a very large ping difference, and that's what it comes down to, is that playing on 300, 400 millisecond ping turns most games into kind of a crapshoot. So these teams don't get a lot of chance to practice against each other. And I don't know how Fnatic's going to do. They are probably not used to playing. At least they've definitely figured out the Western style. At least for this tournament, they've certainly gotten it down. But a more meticulous, more perfected kind of execution that LGD will show off, I don't know. We're going to have to see. Fnatic do get two heroes that, well, one hero that they love. They love the Weaver. No doubt about that. I think Trixie tweeted yesterday. He's like, I don't know how to play anybody else but Weaver now, because I believe he played it something like 4 or 5 out of 6 games, which they've been winning with it. So I think that's no reason to stop now, and it does work really well with how they play. OD has really, like, across the board, he's getting picked everywhere. And as is Timbersaw. I would not be surprised to see a Timbersaw in this game. Razor too. There's been some surprise picks. These weren't completely out of nowhere. OD in particular has been just like inching up over the past month. So he's not a shocker, but Timbersaw and Razor, I don't think anybody expected them to be picked quite so much. So Fnatic have a lineup that the tricore that they've run before, and the only question for me is where OD is going to go. Since they picked the Dragon Knight,
10 seconds.
They don't have to send the Dragon Knight mid. They can put him in a part of a tri lane, but he does better in a solo lane. He needs those levels so he can get points up and everything. He needs the Flame Breath to farm the lane. If you put him in a side lane, particularly as a part of a tri lane, he tends to struggle a little bit just because you get slow levels in Flame Breath and you can't bottle Crow, which if he's mid, he can do that. Makes it a lot easier to farm.
Fnatic's turn to pick.
So I don't know where Fnatic's going to lane this. They could just put OD in a side lane. It doesn't really matter where you put him as long as you get OD involved early on. That's like past the 6 to 7 minute mark. And if they aggressively tri-lane this, then they could just put OD into the safe lane, and that's almost as good, because he doesn't need a bottle. LGD, they've got the Batrider. Always a big danger.
5 seconds.
OD is pretty strong versus Bat. I think that's part of why OD is popular. And Batrider, consistent with the last 6 months of Dota, is 100% picked or banned so far. Visage happens to be the most picked hero overall, because he's not getting banned as often as Batrider. So LGD take the two most popular heroes in the pool, or highly valued, however you want to look at it. And they get the Nyx Assassin as well. So they've got two components of a pretty strong tri-lane. Potential jungler or a solo lane.
5 seconds.
If it's OD versus Bat, it's... I don't think I've actually seen that matchup before. It should favor OD, which... it would be kind of close. If Batrider's able to get a lot of harass off, then Batrider can can succeed in that lane. The one and only solution to beating OD is to harass him out of the lane. It's not easy, but Batrider could do it. But with the imprisonment, he's got a lot of solutions for if Batrider tries to go on top of him. LGD will round out their tri lane with a Spectre. I worry a little bit for their early game, or really their mid game. I guess is more my concern. The only burst damage they've got right now is in Visage. So Batrider's going to lasso somebody, but who's going to be there to finish them off? They've got Nyx Assassin, but you don't really want to use the Vendetta just for burst damage. You want to use it for initiation. You want to use it to find people, to create kills, not to finish people off. Spectre's got damage, but these are pretty... I mean, OD, a pretty good clutch hero. He can save his teammates or save himself, prolong the team fight, provide time for Fnatic to get in there and help whoever the target is. Weaver, he's not going to be very susceptible to Spectre. Spectre, as a melee carry, does have the problem of being kited sometimes. Does naturally build Yasha into Manta style, so we'll have the extra movement speed that provides. Plus, he's got the bonus movement speed from Spectral Dagger, so not as prone to being kited as some other heroes, but
10 seconds remaining.
Still an issue for him, especially against a carry like Weaver, who can really move around.
5 seconds remaining.
Fnatic also get their Chen. Call it their Chen, but NoTail loves to play Chen, and it's probably one of his better heroes. What was the one game? I think it was I guess I didn't see the game they lost versus. I'm thinking of Mouse Sports. NoTail, usually he plays the 5 position, so sometimes he can have sad games, but not usually as Chen. He's always pretty active, and I would say he's probably on par with Ake from Alliance with the quality of his Chen play. So Fnatic are happy to have that, and it's going to give them a lot more breathing room in the early and mid game. I think the other fortunate thing for the Chen pick in this game is that LGD does not have much in the way of anti-push. Oh, and they go for the Vengeful Spirit again. Nice.
Turn to pick.
Yeah, LGD don't have a lot in the way of anti-push. Not going to be any particularly easy way of burning down these Chen creeps. There's no way of instantly destroying them. So whatever LGD picks last, I think needs to have some kind of AoE, some way of dealing with the pressure that Fnatic is going to be putting on, because this is a fantastic mid-game lineup. Rounding it out with a Vengeful Spirit. The last game, oh, it's a Tidehunter. We keep seeing Tidehunter. I've yet to see him win a game, but we keep seeing him. So this is now the third different team I've seen pick. Rattlesnake, DK, I think it was DK, and now LGD. Very interesting. Vengeful Spirit, that armor, or the Vengeance Aura, is going to be sick nasty for OD and Dragon Knight. Will help Weaver too, but Weaver, until later in the game, he's not going to have a lot of stats. His base damage is not that crazy. But Dragon Knight tends to build strength early. OD, he steals intelligence. He steals base damage. So he's going to get a direct benefit from that Vengeance Aura. It's quite strong. So whenever Fnatic groups up, I think is
10 seconds remaining.
the trouble for LGD, which is why they go for the Tidehunter. The reasoning behind the Tidehunter picks has been to deal with the grouping up that happens in the mid game. But I think this team from Fnatic is fairly well equipped to deal with Tidehunter. They can position themselves pretty well. And OD in particular is a nice solution for Tidehunter. It's not a stun, it's a removal. So you just take him out of the equation for 4 seconds and he's not going to ravage you. And you can't Kraken Shell out of that. In any case, on the Radiant side, this is first game of the day. I'm excited. I've been really enjoying watching Fnatic so far. I'm rooting for them in this game, but I'm also hoping just for some good games. But I think that's what we'll get. Oh, LGD. They're all grouped up together here. They want to ward up the jungle, make life a pain in the ass for NoTail. If they get good wards, and Fnatic is not able to deward them, it can be a problem for NoTail. But looks like there's no engagement. So Fly, he's going to be on this Vengeful Spirit. NoTail on his favorite Chen. Era is actually playing the Dragon Knight this time, not Hani. So he is going to be part of a tri-lane, which will leave Hani on OD mid, and up at top, Trixie on that Weaver. Do worry a little bit for Trixie in this lane, but he's managed to do it in other games, so we'll see. For LGD on this Dire side, we got Sylar on Spectre, DD on that Tidehunter, DDC. I don't understand the difference. Like, why DD and DDC? I guess, you know, a lot of these players, they don't choose their names before they join a team, so they don't know they're going to be playing with someone who's going to be named DD. But nevertheless, DDC, he's going to be playing Visage. Yao will be on this Jungle Batrider, and Zhao 8 playing Nyx Assassin mid. Not a huge fan of Nyx Assassin versus OD. Every time I've seen this matchup, OD still comes out on top. It really does depend on Nyx Assassin's rotations, though. OD will not be able to harass Nyx Assassin out of the lane, so Zhao 8 will get his levels, and will hit level 6 in relatively good time. So he has that going for him. He just has to make use of his 6, which he potentially could. LGD did, in their time in the jungle, opted not to ward any of No-Tail's stacks. Who he's actually doing some stacking here. Fails to do the double stack. Tries to get both the easy camp and the hard camp at the same time, but seems to be interested in getting his levels more than getting involved, particularly early, which I think, given that it's the Nyx Assassin mid, he's kind of hard to gank, and there's no way for No-Tail to get all the way up top, so focusing on farming is probably the better idea for No-Tail. Trixie's getting levels up top. That level 2 is pretty important. Always is. But really, it's just the extra levels in Shikuchi are what make the big difference for Weaver survivability in any lane, but especially the off lane. He's pretty nervous about trying to challenge the pull by LGD, but he's doing his own side pull here, and if he can finish this off in time, it can be a really big boon for him. Question is, will LGD respond in time? These creeps are not dying quite fast enough, and DDC is spotting this out, so Sylar, he will show up, and Trixie's going to try and do this from the low ground, but he may just end up feeding up more kills to Sylar, which looks like that's what's going to be happening. Oh, actually managed to get it. That's really fortunate for him, actually. So for the time being, Era's pulling up ahead of Sylar, 18-5 versus 12-5 on Sylar. Imagine Sylar would catch up as these waves pull back into his lane, but the side pulls from Trixie are a factor there. Era has absolutely no contest in his lane, which means overall that Fnatic's going to be getting more out of their lanes. The jungles are going to be pretty even between Fnatic and LGD. Ooh, smoke up on No-Tail. They're looking for somebody here, but I don't know who they expect to find. Okay, they're just warding it up. I like that decision making. This ward is really great. It detects both the TPs to either the second tower or the first tower, so there's no chance for a sudden rotation, particularly from the big concern is Yao. If he shows up with his blink dagger early, and since he's jungling, he could have that at 8 to 9 minutes, which nevertheless makes this a pretty early ward, but it's also good for pushing. They can start pushing the tower, and they can know when they need to back off before it's too late. So really good warding will help them take down this tower. But at the same time, LGD, they're not really going to be able to do much to this top tower. They don't have a fantastic pushing lineup. Yao has rotated down to bottom. I like this by No-Tail. And he denies an invis rune too. That's the first tower going towards Fnatic, 4 minutes in. I like No-Tail's choice there to use his creep to pull the wave way far away, which basically guarantees that LGD would not be able to defend it. Yao may choose to stick around down here. It's a little dangerous. Magic Missile plus Dragon Tail is a lot of stun, and would pretty much guarantee that he dies. So something that Yao really has to be careful of, and given that he can get a lot more farm out of his jungle right now. Bit of opportunity cost to being in that lane when he's not able to farm it. Trixie's hit level 4, so he's actually getting some pretty decent levels. Not getting much farm, but that's not a surprise. Actually, it's a fairly weak. Talk more about the Tidehunter. One of the reasons that we don't see a lot of Tidehunter is that he's a weak tri-lane hero. Weaver shouldn't be having quite this good of a time in his lane. But there's no lockdown for LGD. Spectre, same story. It's 3 slows that LGD has, which Weaver doesn't care about any of that. Tidehunter as a support just doesn't offer a lot in terms of the laning phase. That isn't just something you could get from almost any other hero. I mean, he's got damage from Gush and Anchor Smash, so he does offer that, but it's also really high mana cost. He can't do that more than once. 120 mana on Gush, he's only got 300 mana. So I think it's a big reason that we don't see much of Tidehunter, because I mean, if it were a different support, if this were a Lion, a Shadow Demon, someone with an actual disable, perhaps they could zone him out of the lane. But instead, he's just about to hit level 5, which is pretty good for him. Because they push down the bottom tier 1, No Tail's levels get slowed down a little bit. Spends a lot of time getting that ward up, securing that push. So he's a little bit behind, but that's been a common story of Chen in many of the games I've seen. Have not been. I mean, I feel like I used to see more often Chen hitting level 8 at 7 minutes in, 8 minutes in, getting a mech really fast with arcane boots. Haven't seen quite as much of that recently. But it's very individual to the player, the Chen player. Everybody plays a little bit differently. No Tail likes his aggression. Everybody on Fnatic does. Xiao 8 in middle. He's not having a great time. 17-1 versus 39-25 on Hani, and that's just gonna keep getting worse. Now that Hani's hit level 4 imprisonment, he's got level 3 in Essence Aura, so plus he's got the Tranquil Boots plus Bucklord, so he's basically got all the mana he could possibly need. But Yao has shown up. There's a haunt from Sylar. They're gonna go straight on Hani. He self-imprisons here. It's gonna buy time for the teleports from Fnatic. It's perfect. Wow, great self-imprisonment from Hani. Could have been a potential turnaround there if LGD had stuck around, so wisely backing out, but great self-imprisonment, and this is why OD is such a pain in the ass. So hard to kill. And Yao, he just wasn't quite fast enough. I really have to wonder, ooh, the Flame Break pushes Fly back, but not able to follow it up. Xiao 8. Not able to make any kills happen at this point. Oh, they're gonna find him. There's the Dragon Tail. Wave of Terror followed up with a Magic Missile. First Blood goes to Era. Xiao 8, the solo, giving up a kill. This is a big early lead to Fnatic, and they're gonna start working on this. Actually, not start working, finish working on this bottom tier 2. That's 2 towers in pretty short order. And Sylar has stayed mid for some reason, which is a pretty dangerous prospect against Hani. This haste room, if you weren't tanking the tower, which there's not a lot of reason for him to be doing that. Yeah, if you weren't tanking that tower, he would have been able to just kill Sylar outright, but oh no, he's dead. There's an immediate teleport from Xiao 8, as well as DDC. Oh, but the Sei's Eclipse is going to allow Era to just finish him off with a Flame Breath. Xiao 8 will get a kill on No Tail, but this is still a pretty good situation for Fnatic, although Fly, he's got to get out of here. Oh, there's the Gush on the Fly. The Vendetta will finish him off, so Xiao 8 walks out with a double kill. Fly sticks around just a little bit too long. Good response from LGD right in time. They still lose Sylar, which I would say makes that favor Fnatic, despite the loss of their 2 supports. But still, good engagement from Fnatic, and they're forcing responses too. A lot of TPs wasted by LGD at this point, and that's gold they're not spending on other things like items. Looks to be an armlet on Era. It's already a different build coming out than what we might see on Hani. Haven't seen a lot of Armlet on Dragon Knight, but it is quite good. Really maximizes the strength of his dragon form. Gives him a lot of survivability, and because the damage from LGD is not necessarily so sustained, he's gonna have a pretty easy time Armlet toggling through certain damage. Just to demonstrate, so like really the only damage over time is the Firefly from Yao. There's Gush, there's Soul Assumption, there's Spectre, all of that's pretty predictable damage, so being able to Armlet toggle through that is a lot easier. LGD's grouped up at mid here. They've DDC's hit 6, so he's got his familiars, and the Blink Dagger not yet up on Yao. Given that he was jungling, I think this should be coming a little bit sooner. Fnatic has done this in previous games now, and they're all grouped up in mid while Trixie's off farming top and having a great time catching up. Which I really like this. I don't think you can pick Weaver with much success and not give him farm. You've got to make room for him. And that's exactly what Fnatic keeps doing. And the longer they have this standoff in mid, that's really not bad for them. They're getting farm on Trixie, and LGD's getting farm on Sliler, but Trixie's still going to be more useful in the mid game than Sliler is. Trixie's much harder to kill.
Radiant's bottom tower is under
Vendetta
attack.
pop by Zhao 8. Hani must have seen him there. Yeah, there he is. They bounced off the sentry. They know exactly where he is. He pops the spike carapace, which will slow his death a little bit, but he will still go down. Sanity's Eclipse gets wasted by Hani. No real reason for that, but will Trixie be able to take down Yao? This is the question. There's Ravage up on DD. He would love to use this to good effect. There's a swap onto Yao. There's the Ravage from DD. It's going to land on 2. Trixie, he's getting chain stunned up, but he's still got the time lapse. The Hand of God actually gets used at the same time. So a little bit of layering of their abilities there. Oh, the Soul Assumption. Nope. One more hit. Oh, very nice defensive imprisonment. Does that actually still send him back? Yes, it does. That's OP as shit. Wow. I didn't know that. So Fly gets a double save there. The send back from No Tail. Guaranteed safety from Hani, and he has the mech. So Sylar not able to find a return kill there. And Fnatic takes yet another tower in this game. They're quickly starting to zone Sylar out. This feels a lot like their game versus Mouse Sports, where Black was on anti-mage, and they're just not going to give Sylar the time to get farm up. And they're going to continue this push. Another thing that we keep seeing Fnatic do. They just don't stop the push. And poor Yao, like he knows that he needs to help his team out, but he also needs to get a Blink Dagger. He's not useful without it. He can't just walk in and do this. It's going to entirely depend on Zhao 8 to get in there and land a stun, but there's sentries, at least in the inventory for Fnatic. And it's pretty hard for Zhao 8 to know, yeah, they placed it. This is a nice sentry. This is like perfect coverage, although it's just out of range of LGD sentry. But I really like this placement because it provides just basically full vision of wherever Zhao 8 might approach from. Well, bit of a standoff here up at top, 5 versus 5. I think whoever goes in first is at the disadvantage. The Ravage is still not up, however. It's 40 seconds before that's back up. Not to mention, he doesn't have mana for it. Looks like Fnatic's just choosing to back off. They've wasted a lot of LGD's time. They haven't really gotten a lot for it for themselves besides the top tier 1. But this mid tier 1 is already actually quite low, and they could just go to work on that rather than hoping for this top tier 1. And then they can leave Trixie to continue farming. Trixie's build here is interesting. It's gone for a Hood of Defiance, which there is a fair amount of... There's some magic damage on LGD. Fnatic have to be careful here. Smoke as well. Oh, they got the sentry here, so they see Zhao 8 coming. Oh, the haunt used by Spectre. Defensive imprisonment from Hani, but nice timing on the Ravage will make sure that Hani has no chance to make it out. So, oh, there's the Hand of God. Oh, but nice swap from Fly breaks the... Wow, so DD actually goes down. The nice swap from Fly breaks the lasso, saves Era. And LGD are forced to back out. They get Hani, but they lose DD for it. And it's also going to mean not just their mid-tier 1, but their mid-tier 2. They can't stop this push. These trades for LGD are not working out. It might have felt like a good fight, but with the way things are going, they're 5 towers down. They haven't taken a single tower this game. Fnatic, I can't believe how well they're doing. And Trixie down at bottom just solos Visage. DDC, I didn't see what happened, so I don't know how that could be happening, but it is. LGD, they've got to challenge this Roche. They are pretty far behind in terms of gold, but experience, they're still in the running for this game. They've just got to hold on for a long time. Now that Yao has his Blink Dagger and the Familiars, combined with the help of Familiars, it's possible for LGD to challenge this Roche, but it just doesn't look like they're going to get here in time. Sylar, he throws the dagger, but just doesn't get there in time. And Trixie, look at his positioning here. He doesn't have time lapse, so he's probably going to go down. Do they have the vision? No, they don't. They've got the chain stun, giving time for Era, who's picked up a haste. He gets a flame breath onto 4. There's the lasso onto Era, but nice defensive imprisonment from Hani. And a swap onto DDC, so he's going to get sacrificed here. Xiao, he's popped the Vendetta. He'd love to find a kill. Pops the Impale onto Fly, so the Fly will go down. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of LGD right now. A little bit of over-aggression from Fnatic. There's a buyback from Fly. He wants to get back in the fight as soon as possible. Era, armlet toggle for the moment. How long can he stay alive? The send back from No Tail is not going to be soon enough, but Hani, he buys back. He uses the Sandy's Eclipse. He picks up a kill there, and Era finishes him off with a flame breath just before he goes down. So Hani didn't buy back. What am I talking about there? Fly bought back. I heard the buyback sound, and I saw Hani come back into the fight. Bit of confusion there. But, nevertheless, Fnatic turned that around. LGD chased too long. the Fortify used by LGD. Oh, they're getting a little greedy for this tower. No Tail uses the Hand of God to try and get them up, and he actually gets the tower kill with his creeps. So LGD does not get that deny. It's all 6 towers, outer towers, going towards Fnatic here. They have total map control. Bad news for Sylar. He's really going to have some trouble finding his farm, and really everyone on his team is going to have trouble. There's no reason for Fnatic to do anything but camp on LGD's side of the map. Wow. So Trixie's build here definitely saved him there. It's hard to pin all that entire fight on one factor, but Trixie really started it with his incredible aggression in the middle of three people. But having Treads plus this Hood of Defiance, he doesn't go down easy. He's got a lot of HP regen. Oh, there's a smoke up on 4 here for LGD. They want to make something happen. They've still got Ravage. And they've got the lasso, so perhaps they can find a kill. Their only hope is really to kill Trixie, but he's not even an easy kill. But yeah, being so tanky and so hard to take down, he really baited LGD out into a longer fight than really they could afford to be in. And in terms of the items here, since we're 18 minutes in, it's 9-7. About 12,000 gold in favor of Fnatic. Only 2,000 experience, because it's not a kills advantage, it's just strictly a tower advantage and some map control. Arcane I haven't seen drums on Chen in a while, but yeah, I guess No Tail just wants to tank up. He's got drums, bracer, and his arcanes. Looks to be a BKB around the corner for Era. Coming up after that armlet. Treads in an urn for Fly. He's feeling a little bit tanky, which really helps. That's an important way to build, I think, for Vengeful Spirit. Get tanky as possible, so that every swap you have a decent chance of making it out. Make yourself less of a juicy target to focus down. Hani, he's finished his mech. Oh yeah, he's gonna blink in. There's the lasso. Where's the response from Fnatic? It's coming pretty late, but they only used the Aegis for it, and LGD, they could be caught out here. Nope, they back off just in time, so they use the Aegis. It looks like perhaps they forgot about the Aegis. There's about 2 minutes left on that, so that's kind of a lot of wasted time for LGD. Maybe it's a bit of a wash, given that there was a full rotation from Fnatic, lots of TPs. So probably pretty even overall. I don't think Fnatic is too worried about losing the Aegis at this point. Any case, Trixie, he's got this vitality booster. I don't know what he's going to be building into. I'm tempted to say it's a casual Vit booster, which he'll later build into a heart if he so desires. Oh, there's more engagements over in mid. He pops the BKB, but the fight is already kind of stopped. So his first BKB charge doesn't come to much use. It's not too terrible. I don't think in this game, like, the super long duration BKBs aren't make or break. You've mostly just got to dodge the Ravage and potentially some impales from Zhao 8. So yeah, I'll be watching what Trixie builds this game. It's different build than he's gone for in previous games. DD, he's got his bracers, 2 gauntlets. He's really interested in getting his strength up. He wants to make sure he doesn't die before he's able to get the Ravage off. Sylar, he's got his phase drums, 2,400 gold on top of that, so it looks like he's headed straight for his Radiance. That's what he builds just about every time he plays Spectre. DDC, he's pretty poor. The supports on LGD are not having too great of a time, especially because of how there's no towers for them at this point. Hani finishes his BKB. Yeah, he's working on his Force Staff. Be a little bit before he has that, but I think that will be a pretty crucial part of his initiation. It's not enough just to lasso. You've got to be able to Force Staff out. Force Staff out too. Smoke up on 4 here by Fnatic. Same thing for LGD, however. This is a fight that LGD has to take very carefully. They need the best Ravage they can possibly get to turn things around, given the massive farm disadvantage they have right now. Trees continues to farm solo up on top. Oh, they find DDC. All the BKBs are popped. There's nothing that LGD can do with these BKBs. Can they catch DD? It doesn't seem like they have quite the movement speed. I would like to see a Force Staff on Hani potentially. So they take out DDC pretty much instantly. He'll be back up in like 20 seconds though. So 2 BKBs for the death of a support. Fnatic needs to be making a little more out of these fights, I think. But they're doing their best not to overextend. They don't want to give up any pickoffs to LGD, and that pretty much means they have to stay grouped. Grouped just 4 because Zhao 8's going to be constantly on the hunt. Zhao 8, by the way, is not having a great farm game either. As the solo mid, he's 4th down from the bottom, sitting on 2 bracers and naked boots. Could have arcanes sometime in the near future. See if he chooses that or blink. Probably going to be arcanes just because he wants to get more impales off in an individual fight. Vendetta popped by Zhao 8, Firefly on Yao. Maybe looking to fight here. Roche will be back up in about 2.5 minutes. Which Fnatic may be waiting for. Once they have the this next Roche, they could potentially break the base. Breaking the base is not super easy against LGD because of the Ravage. Tidehunter functions in many respects kind of like a Magnus. It really slows down the endgame push for the enemy team, because if you eat a big Ravage and you're pushed too far into the enemy's base, then you're in trouble. Much the same as reverse polarity. And the positioning is it's harder to position yourself to account for a Ravage than it is for reverse polarity. No doubt about that. No tail, 500 gold on him. Not expecting a lot more items on these supports for Fnatic. Given that they're spending a lot of time grouped up, most of the farm will just be going towards Hani and Era, while Trixie gets his solo experience. Fnatic may also, in addition to waiting for the Roche, they may also just be waiting for Trixie to get his first damage item up. Oh, Era. He's got an Invis rune. He's on top of Yao. There it is. There's the Dragon Tail. Yep. Easy kill. That's a big one for Fnatic. Roche, about another 60 seconds before it's up, so Yao will be back before the Roche fight begins. But every time that LGD is down a man, it means that Fnatic can just, they have complete control of the map. It means the only person farming is going to be Sylar. Everyone else on the team will be suffering. So Fnatic begins their pressuring on the mid-tier 3. Unlikely, I believe, that they could push all the way in just yet, but they could definitely take this tower down. LGD pops the fortify, holding off as long as they can, but now that Yao's back, Fnatic has to be a little bit more careful. Fly, he's waiting in the back, instant swap! No chance for that Flasso to do anything. Wow, so Sanity's Eclipse used on 3, but there's no follow-up just yet from Fnatic. The Dragon Tail is used on Sylar, trying to make sure that he can't escape, but the BKB was popped on air, so the Ravage does nothing. Fly, defensive disruption from Hani. DD goes down first, followed up by Zhao 8. Oh, it's 2 for 1 so far for LGD, and there's a buyback for Zhao 8, so the fight is now 4v4. Fnatic has to be careful about how they continue this engagement. There's a buyback from Fly. Oh, DDC's got to be careful. There's an Impale, onto 1, no tail. He gets eaten up by the Soul Assumption. Hani's back, though, and he's got... Oh, wow. Zhao 8 dies into a buyback. That's really bad for LGD, and that could be the end of these racks. I don't know that they can push Fnatic out now. Because of Zhao 8's death, that's a big problem. He overextends, and this fight for LGD, they did the best they could, but they couldn't stop the push. 26 minutes in, Fnatic takes another Rax pre-30 minutes. This has been happening a lot recently.
Radiant's bottom tower has fallen.
Wow, LGD are really in... Yeah, they're in dire straits. 10,000 experience, almost 20,000 gold. Fnatic will now take the Roche, which will probably mean a Radiance for Trixie, or close to it. Looks to be what he's building next. Man, that swap from Fly was instant. Like, he was just waiting for it. You could tell he had his finger sitting on the R button, waiting for that lasso, and just no chance. This is what's amazing about Vengeful Spirit. It's always been known that Vengeful Spirit is a good counterpick to Batrider, but when you're behind, it's not so effective. But when you're aggressive like this, and you have a lot of room to position yourself however you want, it's easy for Fly to always be in, the exact range he needs to be to not get lassoed himself, but easily lasso whoever Yao's target is. So he just goes on to Hani once more, and that's... I don't know what LGD can do about this. The Ravage is up in 10 seconds, but this is level 1 Ravage too. It's really not that effective. Not to mention the BKBs. When he popped it, there was at least one BKB pop. I didn't see if Hani had his activated. I don't know why he pops the drum there, but Fnatic will siege this tower down. No-Tail's opting not to use his creeps to tank the tower. Doesn't want to lose them early. Probably because he's got these nice centaurs. Wants to make use of the stun. Oh, there's a nice... Yao has finally found Fly. The Hand of God will keep Fly alive for the time being, but Yao, he's finally made use of his lasso target, and this is going to force Fnatic back, at least for the moment. I've got to be careful, but Flare turns right around. Dragon Breath onto 2. His AoE is just melting LGD, and he picks up 2 easy kills there. Trixie actually missed the last hit onto DDC, and that's going to be the Rax. LGD extends out too far. They should not have left their base. They got the free kill on Fly. That was as good as they could have hoped for. You can't chase down a Dragon Knight with 2600 HP at 29 minutes in the game. So that's the second set of racks, LGD. I don't know what they're going to do here. I think Fnatic, they're going to go 6-1. Holy God. I can't believe that they're doing this well. And against LGD, no less. I mean, LGD is like easy favorite for second or third place. in the International 3, and they're losing to Fnatic, who nobody, I mean, not nobody, but most people did not predict that they would make it into the top 8. They knew I mean, everybody knew they had it in them. They're always really good players, but man, 2 months of boot camp, man. Maybe that's the difference maker. Wow. So that was only 1 death for Fnatic in that fight, by the way. They still have the Aegis on Hani. And he just bought something. What did he buy? Is it an orchid? Yeah, he just buys a straight orchid. He's feeling pretty fat and sassy. Sylar, he's at least got his Radiance. It's something. It's not going to do anything to Fnatic. It's kind of annoying to no-tail. Maybe to fly, but I mean, these supports on Fnatic are all tanky. They 1200 HP on Vengeful Spirit, 1300. Or that's Trixie. 1300 on no-tail, since he's got his point booster. Looking toward that Ags. LG are grouped up down at bottom. This is their last stand. Era just walks in, Dragon Tail on Sylar. Oh. Is that an interesting choice by Yao there? He kind of thinks twice of the lasso, Ghost Scepters to make sure he doesn't take any damage for his trouble. And we'll try again. He has to get Fly. That was the only thing that went right in the previous fight for LGD. And if he can get Fly, then he's made use of himself. Oh, there's a silence onto Sylar. The Sanity's Eclipse from Hani just murders him straight out. But there's an instant haunt from Sylar. Hani, even if he goes down here, actually, look at the positioning from Trixie. There's a Ravage onto 2. The BKB not yet used by Era. Nice swap from Fly. Is going to keep Era alive for the time being, but there's a lasso onto Trixie. Immediate time lapse, however, will undo all of that damage. Trixie can just go behind the lines and finish everybody off in the back lines. And LGD calls it GG. 21-11 at 31 minutes into this game. Yeah, 25,000 experience, 25,000 gold, 15,000 experience. Holy crap, Fnatic. They take at least 1 game off of LGD. LGD, they went for a way too passive lineup. I don't know about these Tidehunter picks. As much as I love Tidehunter and I've wanted to see him picked more often, I don't know that these are the games to do it. I understand the rationale, but they're basically picking a Tidehunter in a situation where they would normally be picking a Magnus. And they're not picking the Magnus anymore because he just isn't producing results. His win rate is not very good these days. But I'm willing to bet you that Tidehunters is not much better. So I don't know about the Tidehunter pick. And I keep seeing the Nyx Assassin versus OD. It doesn't work. Yes, you get levels on Nyx Assassin, but OD is happy to let his team know that, hey, Nyx Assassin 6, start putting sentries down. The ganks from Nyx Assassin are not that effective immediately from 6, and as time goes on in that lane, Nyx Assassin gets less and less, so he doesn't have an option. Which is why I think when you got an OD in the game, Nyx Assassin really has to be a support. So they need a stronger mid, and they need something that's not Tidehunter. More actual disable, more reliable damage, something that's not, I don't know, the Ravage just isn't doing anything for them. Shadow Demon, where's the Shadow Demon? That was so highly valued once upon a time. Anyhow, we'll get into game 2 here in just a few minutes.